Welcome to the I Love Coaching podcast, the show where we help coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders build businesses that create massive impact. I'm Adam Roach, alongside my incredible co-host,
Jess Weber, and we're here today to bring you the best strategies, mindset shifts, and real-life success stories to help you level up in your coaching journey.
Whether you're launching your coaching business, scaling to 6 or 7 figures, or just looking for inspiration to push through, this podcast is your go-to resource.
We're bringing you expert insights, real talk, and actionable items every single episode. So if you're ready to take your coaching game to the next level,
then let's dive on in. Welcome back, everybody, to the I Love Coaching podcast. Jess, we're going to bring some energy today. Adam Roach here, along with my co-host,
Jess Weber, and I'm excited about this topic, Adam. It's one we've kind of discussed previously, but not as directly as I think we're planning on having that conversation today.
Okay, let's stop right there. Leave them as a cliffhanger because I don't want to introduce it just yet. I want to know what's going on in your world. What's new in your world? You're getting ready to go somewhere.
I am. I'm getting ready to head to Kelowna, British Columbia, which is north of Vancouver in Canada. And I am headed to what's called the Pink Skirt Project, which is a 300 female entrepreneurial one-day summit hosted by Renee Warren, who is married to our former coach, Dan Martell.
That's right.
And I am so excited about this. It's the first time that I'll be in a room of just female entrepreneurs, and it's not an industry-specific event. So there's coaches, lawyers, doctors, all sorts of different people here in the entrepreneurial space. And I cannot wait to connect with people and learn from people. It's the first time that I'm doing a conference that's 100% for myself, which is another really fun thing rather than doing it for a business.
Just curious, because this is the second time you've been up in Kelowna, probably in the last 90 days. Is your husband getting worried that you're looking at real estate maybe up there? I mean, I
was actually given the directive to look at real estate up there because of the volatile nature of our political climate.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
And the fact that the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar is so different. And then when I pulled up the property that I would want to purchase, he was like, oh, never mind with the exchange rate. We're staying in St. Louis. And when I kind of articulated the trauma and drama of trying to get home from Kelowna last time that I went through, it was a 21-hour travel day with issues in Calgary, with issues in Houston, which is nowhere near St. Louis, y'all, if you ever look at a map. Trying to get home to St. Louis, it was a lot. And so I actually changed my flights this time around to choose different cities to go through on my way to and on my way home to avoid some of those airports that I had trouble in last time. Cause I was like, maybe it was the airport that was bad luck. We'll see. It's a shorter trip. So I leave tomorrow and I come home 3 days later. So I'm hopeful that it's a quick, simple, impactful trip.
You're going to have so much fun. I'm so excited for you and can't wait to see what ACT you do. Apply, change, and teach, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, let's dive into this. So we had a community conversation with the coaches 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago now about AI and about AI coaches and will clients still pay humans? And so, Jess, let's make this podcast conversational.
Okay.
We can have our own opinions and beliefs. I believe that we have some that we agree on, some that maybe we disagree on. And I want to show up with this topic as just that, just conversational. So all of our listeners right now, we're not going to step into a space of authority specifically answering the question. What we're going to do is we're going to have a conversation around this because it's ever changing, right? This whole landscape of AI is ever changing. And in my opinion, I'm super excited about it. I'm beyond excited about it and the capacity that it has. So let's dive into this, Jess.
Yeah. So like I said, know that we've had a couple conversations about how we use AI in our world, but I think the conversation about AI in coaching or AI as your coach is a fascinating one. And that's kind of where that conversation started within our community was we transitioned from how are you leveraging AI as a coach to do you fear being replaced by AI as a coach? And we saw some very different opinions and thought processes around it. And I think part of that difference of opinions and thought processes is, where is your relationship beginning with AI? Like, where are you coming from positionally? Are you somebody who's bought into it and you understand that it is now one of the most critical elements to the workforce, like the internet was, right, 20 plus years ago? Or is it something that you're still wary of and curious about where the dust is going to kind of settle in it? So you understand it, you respect it, but you don't feel like it's going to replace humanity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of where we have to start, is where are you coming from in this conversation? Because that's going to change your opinion on it.
Well, here's what I think about the whole aspect of it. And you and I have done this now, I think, extremely well. We use AI, we use GPT, Gronk for basically all day, every day, right? I use it from the standpoint, we know we love Coach Alan Dick, and I have my own GPT Alan Dick, right? And it's I feed it the same information that I feed the human Alan. And the information it's very interesting. I can't say what Alan said about my leanness on this podcast because it was not PG, though he said I'm getting very lean. But he used very descriptive words. And GPT said something very similar, but more in a eloquent type way, right? But here's the question, right? It's gosh, there's so much. So you got GPT, which is more conversational interface, right? It can be pre-trained on a specific framework. It's available 24/7, right? And there is the aspect of scale and low cost, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I literally could say that I can make a Coach GPT for myself and pay $20 a month for Chat GPT's, pro account. And that's a little bit different than what I charge my clients per month to work with me. And so we had this conversation about, are you going to keep paying humans to do what you feel like a GPT can do? And I think that all stems back to, how are you using the GPT? I think that's a huge part of this, because there is a lot.
There's so many that aren't using Jess. There are so
that's
many
true.
still that are not using it.
That's true. But I think GPT is a great information delivery system, right? It's a language model, which we've had podcasts on and everything. And so when it comes to asking Alan, Coach Alan on fitness as an example, because I have my own Coach Alan as well, both in person and GPT, I can sit there and say, hey, here's my macros. Here's what do you think I should do today in terms of X, Y, or Z? Additionally, I can get great info and insight from the GPT. I can even say, hey, I'm feeling this way. I have these symptoms. I can do as much as I do with the GPT as with Alan. And yet it's always, at least right now, as of, June of 2025, it's missing the emotional attune. It's not emotionally attuned to me. I can tell it how I'm feeling emotionally, but it doesn't have the same human insights because it doesn't have the human emotional experience or connection. And so no matter how much background information I give my GPT, it is not going to connect with me on an emotional level the way Alan is going to connect with me. And I think that's one of the big differentiators, is if you're only hiring a coach for information, go hire a GPT.
Jump into GPT, that's right.
But if you're going to build a relationship with somebody who is going to be emotionally invested in your success and your outcome, and you are a human who wants a human connection, then I think coaches are here to stay. Because I can provide so much more to my clients than a GPT can, and Alan's the same way, you're the same way, and the coaches in our community are.
Yeah, agreed. Let's stay. I'm going to go pro coach for a second. Pro human coach. Okay. Because pro human coach, it does exactly what you just said. It has the emotional attunement, if that's a word. Is that a word, Jess? Attunement? They're emotionally, here we go. Emotionally attuned. There you go.
There you go.
We have empathy. Some coaches have empathy. They can go deeper, right? Even though GPT can go deep, there's more intuitiveness in a human. Okay. Though the language models are learning, they're learning real fast. Though the pro coach element is, there's such a human past history that human to human is what we all know right now. There's a very, very small percentage that is human to bot. right? They go to the bot first before they go to a human beast, because that's how we've been patterned and trained to think, right? Is go to human. And I'll get on coaching calls with clients, and I'll give you an example. I have a client who is looking to get a valuation done on his company. Now, we know valuations are simply just data entry. Valuations are just simply done based on a certain framework. And if you have already the example of a framework, then put it into GPT. Put it into GPT, and then, as an example, put your numbers in there and let that spit it out, right? You don't need a coach for that. That's just data entry. What you will need, though, is a human on the other end that says, here's specifically what I would do with this. Right now, GPT can say the same thing, but GPT hasn't been there and done that before. If he's coming to me, I've sold and exited businesses before. GPT has not. It can give suggestions and advice based on the power of your question, but a real human pro coach component with that client of mine can go use GPT, get his valuation done from there, come to me and say, from your experience, what did you do next when you got this, right? So that's why I want to say pro coach just for the time being. Though, coaches, if you're listening, you better get damn good at GPT. You better get damn good at the AI side of things, because once your clients can look at those tools and resources as a replacement for you, they will replace you. They will. They totally will. Because they're faster, they're easier, they're cheaper, they're 24/7, they're available all the time. You get me once a week or twice a month, right? GPT's always there.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of swing the other way, so pro AI, I'm sitting here thinking it's there all the time, and you have the ability to train it and prompt it. It's always there. You can prompt it, and the better that you get at prompting, the better the outputs are going to be. And so if you're going to lean into it as an AI coach for you, whether it's around health or around wealth building or whatever it is, your business, the more that you lean into it and the better you get at prompting, the better the output is going to be. Yes. And so there's value in verbally vomiting every single thought, thing, piece of data, whatever that you have, because that's going to give it a more cohesive and well-rounded picture of you. And so while it's not going to maybe emotionally connect or draw from past experience of you, it's a language model that a lot of people are feeding. So it's going to draw from anything that's being fed to it from anywhere. And so if you're good at prompting and not just using it as a Google tool, right, it is going to start giving you perspectives that it's going to receive from multiple other sources and inputs, and it might give you something that a one human coach couldn't think of.
Very true.
And so it's a very interesting thing. And I think the key there is you have to be damn good at prompting and writing your prompts and tweaking your prompts and giving feedback to a GPT to get something of value out of it. Because I think most of the people who are anti-AI or even anti-AI coach are the ones who don't have a good understanding of the prompting. It is not, should I do? What do you think? Like, there's so much more that you need to give it in terms of parameters, behavior, structure, background, all of these things to truly get the output that you want.
That's right. Yeah. As I was sitting here thinking, what would be pro coach with the plus version, if you will, of AI behind the pro coach or the coach would be to have your coaching sessions. And if you could record them or have them transcribed, throw that in there, have projects with each of your clients' name, share with GPT the desired goals and outputs that they're looking to achieve. Now, as a coach, you are actually improving your intellect and your ability to solve and solution orient problems at a tune of, I don't even know what the X would be, 100X, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now that's not to say that you are trying to be someone you're not, right? We look at real coaches, relevant, experiential, authentic leaders. What I would say with the example that I was giving of my client who wanted to have his business valuated is, I'm going to use this. This is how I help you get to somewhere faster. And actually, that's your selling feature right there, is expediting the process between A to B or A to Z. And I'm going to help you get there even faster, which probably I can charge you more than.
Well, and that's the funny thing. So anybody who's listening, don't hear me as like anti in-person coach, because I am an in-person coach. I'm sitting here thinking about it strategically. And I think what you're saying is right on point, Adam, because I was sitting here thinking about an example of one of my clients, even who, they work with other individuals in their industry, in their organization. And there was kind of a big negative thing that happened. And my client wanted to find a solution to the problem, and was leaning into GPT to help her structure her language around that problem. And yet she had to call me and say, hey, what do you think about this? And I was able to provide so much more to her as a human because I knew all the people in the organization. I knew where she was coming from emotionally. I knew her emotional stability and background and that of the others. And so it's one of those things where she could lean into GPT for a lot of the like A to B, like you said, the action plan or the language of the steps and the things that she needed to do. But there was no emotional intelligence of all of the organization that could give her the insight she needed to move forward appropriately in that instance. And so that's one of those things where I believe that I provided a massive value. And I knew she sent me her GPT. So it wasn't like she wasn't leaning into AI and I wasn't leaning into AI. But at the same time, I had more awareness than, because there's no way she could have fed the life history and the emotional framework of every human in her life into that to then say, help me emotionally. And so it's a fascinating thing to think about. How do you become valuable as a human coach, leveraging AI, and teach your clients to use AI and demonstrate value beyond what they currently get from AI? And I think emotion is the key there.
I agree. I want to share this stat here. I just pulled this up. So this is from explodingtopics.com. This was 4 days ago. It said it's estimated that ChatGPT received 3.75 million searches per day in 2024. So 3.75 million, while Google received 14 billion still per day. And we know the difference between a million and a billion. That's a huge number. And what that tells me, just from that simple little stat, I haven't done any research to see if that's validated number. So don't hold me to that. That's straight from the Googles, but from explodingtopics.com. It says ChatGPT has 400 million weekly users, according to OpenAI's COO. And that was as of January of 2025 now. So very, very interesting to see this number increase, but also still to see that so many humans are still using a search tool versus a language model, because I still don't think many people know how to use a language model in a prompting sequence versus, hey, Google, here's a question, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very fascinating data there.
It is. Well, it makes me think about, I said something about something being meta last night, and my husband's like, I don't even know what that means. And it took me back to like my education, my master's in curriculum and development days, when I had the opportunity to be interviewed for a book that was being written on metacognition, which metacognition is the act of thinking about thinking. And I think that we as humans have gotten lazy with technology, and we don't think about the act of thinking, think about the act of learning. So we aren't very meta when we should be. And I think tools like Google have created a dependency to not think as much, right? And so I think there's a fear around AI of, oh my gosh, it can think more than a Google search. I don't want to do anything related to that. And yet, like, Adam and I, right before recording this podcast, we're working together with GPT pulled up on a screen and doing a screen share. And we had to prompt it for an hour and a half today, plus several hours previously, to get the end result that we were looking for. And it's not set in stone that that's even the right thing for us. We're going to test it. But it's not like you type something in and you immediately go with the output, which is what Google does. This is a tool that helps us as humans think better, act better, do better, but we still have to lean into our humanity, our brains, our intelligence, our experience, our emotions to truly deliver. And so it's mind-blowing to me how many people fear what they don't understand because they've gotten so lazy that they won't go take the time to learn.
Well, I agree with all of that. Let's watch this. So these are some top Chat GPT user statistics, and again, this is from explodingtopics.com. It says around 62% of Chat GPT's social media traffic comes from YouTube. 62% comes from YouTube. Around 15% of Chat GPT's users are American. Interesting stat there. More than 45. Okay, this is a big one. This is a big one. And Coach or AI, even though I have a soon-to-be 17 and a soon-to-be 15-year-old, this stat is very interesting. More than 45%, so almost 50%, more than 45% of GPT users are under the age of what? What would you say? Almost half are under what age?
25?
Yeah, nailed it. Under 25. Coaches, listening to this, we have a time frame here. We have a timeline. We have a window here of demographic of who you're going after, right? Because let's just hypothetically say that you're a coach for the next 10 years. If you're a coach for the next 10 years, that's going to be, the 25-year-olds now are going to be 35. Those are the people that are going to be in the workforce that maybe are looking for a coach like we think right now, but they're not thinking of finding a coach because they get all their information from GPT. Fascinating. And then it says, what else do we have here? So this is just weekly users. November of 22, it had a million weekly users. And as of February of 25, we're 100 million users.
Yeah, well, it's become something that's becoming more widely adopted, but it's not there yet. And honestly, during this conversation, it made me think of a conversation that I had with my almost 70-year-old mother about electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles versus gas-powered. And she made a very bold statement one day randomly with my husband in the car. And she's like, I hope I'm dead before I ever have to get an electric vehicle, just because it's different.
Yeah.
It's scary because it's different. Yeah. And I feel like if I sat there and tried to get her to do Chat GPT instead of a Google search, it would be I hope I'm dead before I ever actually have to use this kind of situation. I think in the same thing, because it's an unknown. But I love the fact that you're bringing up the fact that so many users are under 25, because I was listening to something the other day that talked about administrators in schools learning how to educate differently, because they were like, well, how do you deal with, kids under 25 leveraging AI to help them write their papers? And she goes, well, we can't combat that. That's going to be the nature of the game. So why not teach them how to use AI to craft a better paper or craft the outline or review what they've written, but then in class, in person with humans, have debates on the papers, the, perspective, the feedback, all of these different things. So you're teaching them different skills while still having a conversation about writing a paper. So you're teaching kids that AI is not something to be feared, but it's something to be utilized and leveraged and respected, but it doesn't replace. And so I think that's the same thing that we can talk about in coaching, is where I was headed with that.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's look at some of these user demographics. Yes, I'm going to give you the percentage. Well, I'll round up here. 65% and 34%, 36%, we'll call it, whatever. What percentage is higher, male or female, using GPT? 64.32% is male or female? What do you think?
Female?
Ooh, it's male.
Is I was
male
going to say
is the higher, yeah.
I was going to say female is probably lower, just because of a lot of roles that I feel like females have, or the relationship with technology that I feel like a lot of females have.
Interesting data. Let me give this last one, and then I'm done with the data. I love data. I think this is so fascinating.
Really, Adam? I didn't know that about you.
Here's the breakdown of approximate time to reach 1 million users. Now, there's apples and oranges here, so it's not a super comparable, because we know that GPT is more of a language model, not entertainment. Netflix, back in 1999, it took 3.5 years to get to 1 million users. Let's go to Airbnb in 2008, 2.5 years. Let's go to Facebook in 2004, 10 months. Let's go to Instagram. No, let's go to Spotify. Spotify in 2008 took 5 months. Let's go to Instagram in 2010. It took 2.5 years. Let's go to GPT in 2022, 5 days. Isn't that
holy cow?
5 days to get to 1 million users. Okay.
Wow.
Again, like I said, there's not going to be a right, there's not going to be a wrong in this conversation. It's just education. And the value of knowing this type of stuff as a coach can empower you to position yourself as an authority leader, as a thought leader, as a whatever you want to say there, expediter of knowledge, right? Step into this, because I will put a prediction. As of, what is this? This is June 9th, 2025. Based on this data that we have right here, what was it? It was what percentage? 45% are under the age of 25 using GPT right now. In 10 years, those 25-year-olds will be 35. And if we look at our average client age right now, it's probably older than that. At the end of the day, those 35-year-olds will be heavily in the workforce, heavily in the entrepreneurial space, heavily in the next explosion of something next. So we got to pay attention. ChatGPT and the language model and these type of AI products, if you will, are going to continue to grow. The question is, will you grow with them?
Well, and I think there's still space, because your clients are probably not going to adopt as fast as you if you're leaning into this. So you're still valuable in the fact that they're still using it like Google, right? Or they're still using it just slightly more than Google. So if you want to be an invaluable resource, it is about your experience. It is about your emotional capacity, but it's also about your ability to stay ahead of the curve and show them how you can be valuable, to teach them to implement it for language and data, but you stay top of mind and relevant for emotional capacity. And so I mean, truly, I think there's a space for it, but I don't think it will replace us as long as you stay human.
Yeah, definitely stay human. Though, don't be naive to it. Don't be naive. Do not be naive to this product. Don't be naive to this language model, this AI, because artificial intelligence, let's just call it. I mean, it is here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. AI coaching is a tactician.
Correct.
And you need to be more than that. Yes. And if you're only delivering that, then you need to become a better coach.
It's very true.
You know, I mean, that's the bottom line in my head is, if you are only delivering, here's the next step, here's the next thing, here's the data, and you move on and you don't have any other connection with your clients, then you are going to be replaced. If you can deliver more and be more valuable, and you stay ahead of the curve and you stay aware and engaged in what the world is doing, then I think that you have every opportunity to still be an incredible asset to so many clients.
Could not have agreed more with that statement. That was good, Jess. Well, this was fun. Is the AI world going to replace the coach? We don't know. Time will tell, though. Just do not be naive to this space. Step in it. Learn it, engage with it, let it be your co-pilot, let it be your partner, let it be everything. I mean, another silly little example. Dana was meeting with one of our doctors today to discuss some challenges that she'd been having, took it to the GPT first, gave it all the symptoms, gave it everything that doctor-wise, reporting-wise that she had done, and had some symptoms, or had some solutions already made, gave it to the doctor. Love the guy. We're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to replace him with GPT. And he said, those are incredible solutions. Let's go with these. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I lean into it heavily for medical expertise, as well as what questions should I take to my human doctor based on these results and based on these symptoms. So if you're nervous about, hey, give me solutions, you can at least say, hey, what questions should I ask to help lead the doctor towards a solution that I may not have thought of? And again, that goes back to being better at prompting and knowing how to use it, besides how to do this thing like so many people using Google.
Yep, very true. All right, Jess, great conversation. We trust everyone that has been listening really enjoyed this. I know I did. And I'm sure we'll do more on AI. So just tell them what they should be doing right now. What's their call to action?
Go to ilovecoachingco.com and join our newsletter to make sure that you get a copy of this episode and the notes and anything else that we deem valuable enough to share with the world.
Yep. Got it. Perfect. Okay. Everyone, thanks for listening. Like us, subscribe to us, share this with someone, and we will see you next time. See you. Bye.